My best friend's boyfriend had broken up with her because of me. I didn't have the heart to tell her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. A few days later, she started going out on Tinder dates again. I could see that she was feeling better, so I decided to confess to her everything. And she told me she could tell that he and I liked each other. Then she told me I should date him. Well, I didn't waste any time. I sent him a text message and asked him if he wanted to meet up for dinner. And when we did, he asked me to be his girlfriend. We did it for 6 months before he proposed. He even got my name tattooed on his neck. The only problem is that my mom thinks he might do the same thing to me. I don't even want to think about that because I truly believe that he loves me. But let's hope not. We've been planning the wedding and I asked my best friend to come. Of course she said yes. She's super happy for me. And she actually has a boyfriend now. Do you guys think my fiance will end up doing the same?
When my grandma passed away, she left each of her grandkids money to put them through college debt-free. But this fund stayed in our parents' names until we turned 18. My sister got pregnant her sophomore year of high school. She was panicking about college. The baby daddy left and she hasn't tried to find him to get child support. All of that stress caused a hard, complicated pregnancy, but both are okay. We graduated this last December with about $2,000 in debt. I figured she used all the money grandma left for her pregnancy and had to take out a loan. I got accepted to my dream college, but my mom was insistent that I stay local to save money. I told her grandma left me more than enough, but that's when she told me. They used all the money that was supposed to go to me to take care of my sister and her kid and her expensive pregnancy. I broke down and just lost it crying. I was shouting how they screwed me over for the kid that fucked up. My sister got upset and asked me if I'd rather have had her live on the street unable to raise her child so I can go to college and have a good life. I said yes, it's not fair that she fucked up, got drunk, and slept with so many guys she doesn't know who the baby daddy is. But I'm the one who has to be punished for it. The argument got too heated, so I left. Did I go too far? I feel screwed over because I'm being punished despite being the one that followed the rules.
Yes, this really did happen. In 2015, a man woke up to a strange post-it note sitting on his desk. On it was a to-do list that he didn't recognize in handwriting that didn't look like his. Since he was up late the night before doing some work, he assumed he must have written out the list when he was half asleep and kind of forgot about it, so he just crumples it up and throws it away. 2 weeks later, he wakes up to dozens of these post-it notes all over his wall, and they're all blank except for one that, in the same weird handwriting, says, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you." Now feeling totally freaked out that some crazy person is crawling around his apartment at night, he starts looking for signs of a break-in, but there aren't any. Instead of calling the police, he shares his experience on Reddit asking for help, and one user's comment literally saves his life. Turns out the man was writing the notes to himself and then forgetting, because his brain was slowly dying due to a carbon monoxide leak that was only discovered because a user suggested he install a detector. If someone offers you this, walk away. In 2016, a man was staying at his friend's cabin in the woods when he decided to go for an evening stroll. A little ways down the trail, he hears someone call out from behind his neighbor's house. He looks up and he sees this skinny guy pop out from behind the building who starts waving frantically at him to come over. Worried this guy could be in trouble, the man takes off running to assist, but when he gets close enough, the neighbor just offers him a fistful of Slim Jims and starts talking about how much he hates his wife. Sensing there was something wrong with this guy, he says no thank you to the Slim Jims and walks away. The next day, the man calls his friend who owned the cabin to ask him what the deal was with his weirdo neighbor. There was silence on the phone, and then his friend just says, "I don't have any neighbors." The police are called, and it turns out his neighbor was really some lunatic who had recently killed his wife and had been hiding out in the abandoned cabin next door.
My house is super fucking paranormal, and this is the first incident I had. So in 6th grade, I had 3 friends over and we were playing hide and go seek. So I hid in the pantry, and there's no way anybody could hear me. There's no vents, and I wasn't even talking. So I'm sitting there like, cause like I wanted to win the fuck. So I'm sitting in there, and 10 minutes pass, and I hear my friends talking downstairs. So I go down there, and I'm like, "Did y'all give up?" And they look at me, they're like, "We thought you were in the crawl space." I was like, "No." They were like, "No, we were literally talking to somebody in the crawl space." And they said like it was this little girl like asking for help and shit. So I get freaked out and I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the fuck? And around 2 minutes later, the doorknob to the crawl space starts going like this, like shaking and shit. So I literally had a heart attack and I was like, okay, we're leaving. So we grabbed all of our shit, we grabbed my dog and we went in front of the house. I called my dad crying. I was like, there's something in this fucking house. And he was like, no the fuck there's not. So he gets home, he checks the house, he's like, y'all are stupid, like there's no shit here. But we all heard it and we all saw the doorknob shake, and it only got worse from then.
Okay, so this happened during one of my harder college classes when the teacher gave us an exam. We flipped to the back where the cheat sheet should be for us, the formula sheet, and we realized that it was actually the answer sheet for the exam. Our professor got a phone call and had to step out for a few minutes. And so everyone in the class looked around each other and was pretty adamant on this is the answer sheet and he just made a mistake. But we all just gonna keep our lips shut and just get the exam done because it was a hard class. I went through every answer and got the same answer as the answer sheet, so everything was pretty legit, except for the last question where we had to draw a flow diagram, and on the answer sheet it said answers may vary. So I did to the best of my ability the flow diagram, and as I'm putting in my exam, I wanted to see what everyone else put. And these people put, for the last question, answers may vary. So if we weren't to get caught before, we definitely...
My client used to be a criminal prosecutor. Let me tell you one of his crazy stories. So one day, two guys wanted to rob a jewelry store. They decided the best way to learn the ins and outs of the store was to abduct the security guard. One of these kidnappers pulled the guard into a van to try to get some info out of him, but the guard fought back. He fought back so much that the kidnapper shot him in the head while the other was driving. So at this point, while being shot in the head, the guard managed to roll himself out of the moving van while the kidnappers tried to flee the scene. While bleeding, the guard crawled to his car and drove himself to the hospital.
When I was 16, my friend Lexi and I were trying to get super fit one summer. So we made a pact that we were going to swim around this one rock every day that summer. The swim wasn't that long, it only took like 15 minutes. But the rule was that you had to swim around the backside of the rock. You couldn't just go out and back. You had to go behind it. And the backside of the rock was always a little scary because once you got behind the rock, no one on the beach could see you anymore. So if anything happened to you, you'd be on your own. But we were ridiculously intense about it. Like we went turbo beast mode. We said that no matter the weather, no matter the size of the waves, the strength of the rip current, we would swim around the rock for the entire month of July every day. And we were super serious about this commitment. Like one day, Lexi ate a really bad pepperoni calzone and had the worst food poisoning. And she was literally shitting her pants and I was like, Lexi, you don't have to swim with me today. And she still swam with me that day. Then one day, in the middle of July 16th actually to be exact, because I remember we were swimming around the rock and something bad happened.
This is why not everything is as it seems. One night at around 4 a.m., Tommy woke up screaming. He dreamt of a creature that somehow got into his room. It had a short, fat body, long arms, sharp claws, and red eyes. In his dream, this creature looked directly at him as it killed all of his loved ones. How did this creature find Tommy? By mimicking the voice of Tommy's father. As it ripped Tommy's mother's heart out, it said that it had to trick him because it can't enter without his permission. Tommy woke up with chills all over his body. Luckily, he heard the voice of his mother, who he thought must have just woken up. His mother's voice came in from the hallway. "Tommy, I heard you were screaming. Are you alright? I got you a glass of water. Do you want it?" Tommy, without thinking much, replied, "Sure, come in." And as those words left his mouth, he finally took in his surroundings and remembered he had just started college, which meant he moved out of his mother's house 3 weeks ago. This man thought he got away with something terrible he did as a kid, but he was wrong. After Derek ignored the boy in the street asking him for 1 penny, he went home. But he always felt a bit strange about their interactions. Then he went into the attic and found his old yearbook. While flipping through, he found a photo that would haunt him forever. When he was younger, him and his friends were bullies, and they had done something unspeakable to a boy. After beating him, Derek and his friends threw him in the river without a second thought. The boy never showed up to class the next day, but Derek and his friends assumed that he moved away. How was it possible that the boy Derek bullied years ago was the same boy asking him for a penny in the street now? Even though Derek grew up to be a successful businessman, he held the yearbook in his hands, horrified at how his past had come back to haunt him. Within the next few days, Derek took out his life savings. He brought the bag of money out to the boy and said, "Here's every penny I have. Now please leave me alone." But the ghost boy just looked at him blankly. Then in an instant, his face turned into a terrifying smile. He said, "No, mister, that's not all," as the ghost boy reached into Derek's chest and pulled out his heart.
This is why you shouldn't let just anybody around your kids. Wear a mask while you watch this story time. I promise you're gonna want to. So when I was around 15 years old, I started doing really bad in school. My parents were really poor and my dream was to go to college, so I needed to work my ass off so I could get a scholarship. But with how my grades were looking, it did not seem like I was gonna get one. My school offered after school tutoring classes, so I started taking them. Just in case I didn't get that scholarship, my parents started working late hours so they could pay for my college. They also hired a part-time babysitter / housekeeper. Mind you, my parents worked all day until super late at night. The job was to arrive after we all left to clean up the messes that we didn't have time to clean up in the morning or the night before. door. Then she was supposed to pick me up from my tutoring classes, stay at the house and watch me until my bedtime, which was about 9 p.m. And she was supposed to leave. But one day we were sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast and we all catch a drift of this terrible smell. The dad finds out that the smell is coming from the basement. As soon as he opened the door, the smell just hits you in the face. We all go down there to check where the smell's coming from. We see a pile of human feces. Laying next to it is my babysitter.
Am I wrong for wanting to have my wedding even though my sister lost her baby? A week before my wedding, my sister found out she miscarried at 5 months. Obviously, I was very upset for her as losing a baby can be very tough, especially because it was her first baby. But I didn't want it to end up being more important than my wedding. 3 weeks before my wedding, my sister announces at a family gathering that she wants my wedding to be canceled and changed to a funeral for her baby. I was so upset that she would even ask this. I had been waiting months for my wedding and her miscarriage happened so soon. She burst into tears in front of our family, saying I could wait a few months for my wedding, but she couldn't delay her baby's funeral. I got so mad I stormed off. My whole family took her side, telling me to cancel my wedding, even though I had arranged and bought everything, even my dress and venue was ready, so I couldn't just cancel. I ended up cutting off all of my family, and only a few remained to attend my wedding. My sister hasn't spoken to me in years, and neither has my family. In my opinion, if my sister loses a baby like a week before my wedding,